Hello. I'll wait for some people to log on. Hello. The only props we will need is a block if you need them to help you with some of the poses. We will be working on hip flexors and lower back. So if you have blocks, you can grab those now, or 2 hardbound books also work if you have those in your house, or anything that you have laying around that will help you give a little bit more height for your hands in any of the yoga poses if you need them. I will demonstrate with blocks. I got a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. I hope everyone had a good weekend. It's so beautiful out today. I know I went out and got some yard work done. It was too tempting not to. It was too nice. I was supposed to be resting. I did not. And if Jody's on here, sorry, I told you I was going to rest. I didn't. I see a couple more logging on. We'll give it one more minute and we'll get started. The rest can filter in with us. I'm seated on a blanket. I have that blanket underneath my bottom. It'll also be underneath my knees when we get to some knees poses. So if you need a blanket as well, you can grab that, or a cushion or anything around the house. Like I said before, I'm going to use blocks. You can use them if you want to. If you do know you don't need them, you don't have to use them. We'll get 45 minutes in and we'll get started. Anyone else can join in when they get there. If you would need to come to seat on a blanket, you can. Wiggle your bottom down. Get comfortable. Close your eyes. Start to notice your inhale and your exhale. Start to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Anything that's been weighing you down this week, we're just going to push that outside of the room and try to let any of those thoughts out. And we'll close the door on those until we get done at the end of class. You can choose to let them in, or you can choose to keep them out forever. Let's drop the chin to chest. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears. Feel the shoulders start to draw down the back. Let the shoulders release. Let them wiggle back up. And we'll roll right ear to right shoulder. Left shoulder presses down. Relieving tension in our neck. If you want to add a little bit more, right hand can come up to the side of the head. And deepen the stretch. See if you can press the shoulder down a little bit more, deepening the stretch on the left side of your neck. If you have the hand on the head, we're just going to bring it back down. Release the chin, let it fall back to chest. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears. And then roll left ear to left shoulder. Right shoulder gives a press down. If you want to add a little more, left hand's going to come up to the side of the head and give it a press. Press the right shoulder down a little bit more. See if you can lengthen the stretch. If you had the left hand on the side of the head, we're just going to let it float back down. Chin rolls back to chest one more time. Draw the shoulders down. Draw the shoulders down the back. A soft release of the shoulders, and chin's going to float back up to center. We're going to get right down to hands and knees and get down to our hip flexors and our lower back. Taking your time, we're going to transition to hands and knees. We'll work our way down to our mat. I'm going to face you. I'm going to unroll a blanket and put that underneath my knees. You have that option as well. If you have hardwood like me, you'll need the blanket to soften that right on your kneecaps. We'll put the blanket down. And then knees are going to go underneath the hips. As we look forward, knees are going to be directly underneath the hips, and wrists are going to be directly underneath the shoulders, coming to hands and knees. From the side, it looks like this. It's called tabletop position. As you look forward, we're going to go into a cow pose. Lift the chin up, release the lower back. And then as we exhale, draw the chin to chest, tilt the pelvis forward into our cat pose. Feel that arch through your shoulders and your upper back. Let the belly come back down. Let the chin go back up to your cow pose. And then softly release back to our cat. Chin tucks, pelvis tilts forward. A few at your own pace, inhaling as you go forward. Exhale as you draw down. Last set, take your time. When you're done, we'll all meet back at our table. If you choose to use blocks in the next section, you can. I'm going to bring them forward just to show you your options. You can bring the hands to the blocks at any height or here, whatever feels good. And then we're going to take right foot to the outside of your right hand or block. Toes are facing forward, and we're going to start by just pressing all 5 toes onto your mat or your floor. Think about getting all parts of your foot even onto the floor. Right hand's going to go to our hip, and we're going to gaze over our shoulder. Feel it on the outside of your hip and your thigh. Right hand's going to come back down, coming into our modified lizard. We're going to roll the foot onto the pinky toe so we can see the bottom of our foot. Coming into our winged lizard. Remember, if this is too intense, take the blocks higher. We don't want to try to overreach. If you want to add a little more to the stretch, you can bring the hand to the thigh. If you have the hand to the thigh, we're going to bring it back down first. Pause for a breath or two. We'll roll the foot back down, and then we're going to walk our foot to the top right corner of your mat. I don't have a mat here, but you can imagine that I'm walking my foot to the top right corner, almost like a half splits, half monkey. Once again, I know my legs are a little tight from running. I'm going to take it up one more step. Point your toes towards the ceiling. Feel the release from your hip your groin all the way down your leg, down your hamstring, into your heel. Point your toes one more time. Feel the hamstrings release. And we're going to transition it to our side staff. So right foot is just going to go over to the right side of your mat. I'll scooch this way so you can see. My right toes are facing forward. And we're going to go into our side staff. Either keeping the bottom lifted, or you can let the bottom crouch down over your left heel. As long as the foot stays pressed down to mat, we do not want to lift it up. Feeling the stretch on the inside of our leg from our ankle to our groin. If at any time it becomes too intense, lift the bottom up. It's a release valve. And then try to settle back down. Anyone who had the bottom pressed, we're just going to bring it back up. Hands are going to come back to your mat or your blocks. And then we're going to take just one block and put it right off of your left leg. So right where the knee kind of meets the mat, we're going to scooch it out a little bit so that your left hand is directly underneath your shoulder. We're going to press the hips forward. Reach the right arm up, chin goes up. Coming into our half moon kneeling variation. Keep pressing your hips forward. You'll start to feel the opening through your pelvis, the front of your hips. If you want to lengthen the stretch, we're going to take the right arm and gently reach it over your ear. Chin stays up towards the ceiling. You start to feel a little bit more stretch through your right hip. Press your hips forward. Right arm comes back up. And then right hand's going to float to the hip. Press your hips forward. You're going to have an option here. You can stay here if this feels good. You can lift your right toes for a little balance, or if you can bend your knee, Grab the ankle and coming into full half moon kneeling. If you have the bind, you'll start to feel in your quad, your hip flexor. If you don't have the bind, that's okay too. Twist the body up towards the ceiling. Give it one more squeeze. See if you can get your heel to your bottom. And then we're going to release. You can leave the leg up for a breath. And then float the toes back down. Press the hips forward. Right hand goes back to hip. And we're going to gently come back to knees. Press the hips forward again. Chin goes up towards the sky. And then right knee is going to come in. We're going to move our blocks to the side, coming into a child's pose. Your variation. Knees can be wide, knees can be together. Knees wide, release the hips some more. Knees together, we'll release the lower back. Take your version. Walk the hands forward. Let the body melt to the mat. Notice if you feel any difference from your right side to your left. Taking your time, hands are going to go underneath the shoulders. Knees are going to go back underneath the hips. Coming to our tabletop first. If you want to add the blocks again, you can. I'll show you. And then we're going to go to the left side. So left foot's going to step to the outside of your blocks. Coming into our modified lizard pose. You can see mine here. We're going to start by just pressing all 5 toes into your mat or your floor. Feeling the engagement in your hip. We're going to add that twist. Left hand's going to go to the hip, and then we're going to gaze over our left shoulder. Left hand's gonna come back to blocks. Pause here for a breath. And then we're gonna roll the left foot onto the pinky toe so we can see the bottom of our foot. Coming into our winged lizard variation. If you want to add the extra, left hand can go to the thigh. If you have the hand on the thigh, we'll bring it back down. Left foot is going to roll back to mat. And then we're going to walk it to the top left corner of your mat. Walk it forward, toes towards the ceiling. Left toes are towards the ceiling. I'm going to, like I said before, I'm going to take mine a little bit higher. I know my hamstrings are sore from training for the half marathon. Point your toes towards the ceiling again. Loosen up the back of your legs. We're going to take this to our side staff now. So moving the left leg all the way to left. I'll scooch over a little bit so you can see my toes are facing forward. I'm going to take the blocks down one more height. Your variation, either keeping the bottom lifted or letting it start to work down towards your heel on your right side. Resting down to your side staff. If at any time it becomes too intense, just lift the bottom out of the stretch. Once you lift your bottom up, it releases the stretch. Couple more breaths. If you have your bottom pressed, we're all gonna start to lift them out. Hands come back to blocks for a breath. And then taking your time, right block is going to go right next to your right leg. We're gonna scooch it out a little bit so your right hand is right on top of the block and your shoulder and your wrists are in alignment. Left hand's gonna go to your hips. And we're gonna press our hips forward. And then lifting your left arm towards the ceiling, chin comes up, press your hips forward again. We're gonna extend the stretch to the left side. So left arm is gonna go over your ear. Press your hips forward. Feel the stretch from your left hip to your armpit. Left arm is going to go back to the ceiling. Chin stays up. Press your hips forward. Left hand is going to come down to your hip. Press your hips forward. You can stay here if this feels good, or you can lift the left leg if you need a little stretch for your groin. If you want to go into a full half moon, we're going to reach down, bind at the ankle. Chin goes towards the ceiling. Trying to get your heel to your bottom. Chin stays towards the ceiling. Start to feel this in your quad, in your hip. Working on our hip flexors today. They can be very stubborn. One more squeeze. And then we'll release the left leg. Hand comes back to hip. Toes go back to mat. We're going to bring that right block back up. Whew. Left knee is going to go back in. One more child's pose. Either knees together or knees wide. Once again, knees together is for the lower back. Knees wide is for the hips. Take a version that feels good to you. And settle down into your mat. Notice if you feel a difference, again, as we evened out the sides. Do they feel more even than the first one? Start to bring your hands underneath your shoulders. We're going to transition to our backs for the last couple stretches. We're going to move those blocks out of the side. If you have a blanket, we're going to roll it back up. And we're going to put that underneath our hips as we lay down. So coming back down, we're going to roll it down so that our blanket is right underneath our hips. Feet are going to be the mat, knee towards the ceiling, just a few windshield wipers to release. These are always great for hip flexors, front of the hips. We'll bring the knees towards the ceiling. We're going to walk our left foot to the center. So left foot is going to just walk its way right to the center. Right leg's going to cross over top. We're going to start by just squeezing the legs together. As we kind of squeeze the legs into one another, you start to feel a stretch on the outside of your right hip. And then taking your time, we're going to lift the legs up towards the chest. Left hand's going to go to the right ankle. Right hand's going to go to the left ankle. And we're going to start to squeeze the legs towards the chest. We've done this pose seated. This is called shoelace pose or cow face legs. We're just doing this laying down. You'll notice the leg that's crossed on the top, the right leg. You're going to feel that right in your right bottom and your right hip. Kristen, this pose is for you if you're on here. We'll do this again Wednesday evening at Jazzercise. Hug the legs in a little bit closer. Get a little bit deeper into the pose. Couple more breaths. And then start to release the ankles. Left foot is going to go down to the mat. We're going to cross the legs, squeeze again. Squeeze the legs into one another. Should feel a little bit less tense this time. We'll uncross. Right foot goes back to mat. Left foot walks back out to the left side. A few more windshield wipers. Notice the difference from right to left. Definitely from your lower back to the front of your hips. You should feel a difference from right to left just from that little stretch sequence. We'll even it out. We're going to rock the right foot to the center. So right foot's going to walk right to the center. Left foot is going to cross over top. Then start to squeeze the legs into each other, feeling a stretch on the outside of your left hip. Squeeze again. And then start to bring the knees and legs towards the chest. Right hand's gonna go to the left ankle. Left hand's gonna go to the right ankle. Ooh, squeeze the knees, the chest. This side is definitely more tight. You can feel it right in your bottom, in your hip. If it's too much, you can release one leg. You can just draw in your left leg. Hold it. I know it can be uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. What do we say? Sometimes life is uncomfortable. We have to sit through the discomfort. It's a good life lesson. Even in yoga, when we have to hold these poses that sometimes just don't feel the greatest, but it's good for your body. Squeeze them a little tighter. Hug the legs a little closer if you can. One more time. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. See if you can deepen the stretch. See if you can make any more progress in this stretch. And then release the ankles. Right foot's gonna go down towards the mat. Squeeze the legs into one another. And then we'll uncross. Left foot is gonna go to the left edge. Right foot is gonna go to the right edge. One more time, windshield wiper. Should feel more even this time. A little more length from our hip flexors down our quads. A little less tight right around the outside of our hips right here. One more stretch before we end class. We're gonna bring the bottoms of the feet together. Knees are gonna go wide into butterfly pose, opening up the front of the hips one more time. If you absolutely feel uncomfortable, you can add a block right underneath your legs, one on each side. We won't be here very long. You can add your hands to the thighs to deepen the stretch. This is our Savasana. Let's take a couple breaths. Notice your inhale and your exhale. Notice if you were able to keep out any of those thoughts that we pushed out at the beginning of class. If a couple trickled in, that's okay. Take a couple more deep breaths. Taking your time, we're going to take the hands to the outside of the thighs, Gently bring the knees back up. And then rolling to the left or right side, pressing up, we'll come to a comfortable seat to end class together. Coming back to our comfortable seat, letting the shoulders fall away from the ears. Taking notice of any difference we feel from the beginning of the class to the end. Do we feel more space between our ears and our shoulders? Do we feel less tension on the outside of our hips and our lower back? Even if we made just a little bit of progress, let's acknowledge that. And we'll seal today's practice with one last breath. Hands are gently going to fall down towards the mat, fingers face down, palms facing forward. As we inhale, start to swoop the hands up, coming to a full breath at top. Palms gently come together. And as we exhale, we'll draw the hands down the midline, stopping at thumbs to sternum. We pause, give thanks for being able to practice on this Easter Sunday. I hope you were able to take some time for yourself today, even if you were busy enjoying your family. And have a great month. I will put the next one up for May. Enjoy April's class. If you need more yoga, I have plenty of videos available online. I will be available for some private lessons this summer. If that's something that you are interested in, you can message me. I will be offering Reiki, tarot, and private yoga lessons. Reiki with restorative yoga poses that I will be hands-on. If that's anything you're interested in, you can message me. I will have specials for the grand opening of the place I will be at. I'll be releasing that soon, and I will put up May's yoga class in the next couple weeks. Thank you. Thanks to my cousin Amanda for my cool yoga shirt. That's me. All you need is, yoga and coffee. See you next month. Thank you.